The end of British rule and the partition of India triggered a battle for control of Kashmir. Since 1947, neighboring India and Pakistan have each held a portion of the Muslim-majority territory, in a tense standoff that has sparked several wars. A first war began in 1947 after Pakistani tribal militia entered the former princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. The king of the state at the time, Maharaja Hari Singh, asked India for help and signed a letter of accession to India's last British viceroy, Lord Louis Mountbatten. The United Nations Security Council mediated the conflict, and on January 1, 1949, a ceasefire came into effect. A series of border skirmishes led to the 1965 Indo-Pakistani War. The conflict lasted only 17 days, but there were thousands of casualties. During the 1965 war, both sides said they were betrayed by a lack of support from Western powers. India and Pakistan went on to build closer ties with the Soviet Union and China, respectively. In 1999, the so-called Kargil War started with India alleging a Pakistani intrusion in the Kargil district of Kashmir. The war, starting in May of that year, continued until July when India and Pakistan fought to a standoff, which was widely seen as a defeat for Pakistan. Complicating matters is the disputed Aksai Chin area of the northeast of Kashmir, along the border with China. In 1962, China and India fought a brief war there and only reached an agreement to respect Kashmir borders in the mid-1990s. China, however, continues to hold Aksai Chin. In addition to the wars, there have been constant protests, military standoffs, and deadly clashes around Kashmir. The 2016 killing of Burhan Wani, commander of the Kashmiri separatist group, Hizbul Mujahideen, triggered an unprecedented level of violence. The militant leader, with a large following among young people and a strong social media presence, was killed by Indian government forces which consider Wani's organization to be a terrorist group. Thousands of people took to the streets and hundreds were killed in protests and the demonstrations that followed. Among those killed was veteran journalist Sujat Bukhari, who was shot dead along with one of his bodyguards. In June 2018, the United Nations published its first ever report on the ongoing unrest in Kashmir. The report called for a major investigation into human rights abuses, including cases of rape, torture, and extrajudicial killings in the disputed region. While India rejected the report as fallacious, Pakistan welcomed an international investigation of the human rights situation on the Indian-held side of Kashmir. In July 2019, the UN released another report that said both India and Pakistan had failed to take clear steps to address findings in the June 2018 investigation. The new report focused on abuses by state security forces. The UN expressed concern that cases of people going missing in Pakistan-held Kashmir were linked to Pakistani intelligence agencies. The UN called on India's government to review its crowd control techniques because continuous use of shotguns had caused many civilian deaths and injuries. On August 5, 2019, the Indian government scrapped the special autonomy status which the Indian-held side of Kashmir had enjoyed since the 1940s. Pakistan-held Kashmir President Sadr Masood Khan held a legislative assembly meeting to bring international attention to the situation, which is already being closely monitored by the UN.
We are following with concern the tense situation in the region. We're also aware of reports of restrictions on the Indian side of Kashmir, and we urge all parties to exercise restraint.
Protests broke out in Pakistan-administered Kashmir and elsewhere in Pakistan as politicians condemned India's unilateral decision. Following India's decision on special status, the Indian-administered region was placed on complete lockdown, with tens of thousands of Indian troops deployed, curfews imposed, and all telecommunications were cut. India's Hindu nationalist Bharatiya Janata Party insisted the move would bring about peace and prosperity to the region, but it is widely seen as Prime Minister Narendra Modi's effort to tighten control over India's only Muslim-majority state. The controversial and restive Kashmir region remains a flashpoint between India and Pakistan, leaving many Kashmiris unsure about their future.